All right, if you're old enough to remember the O.J. Simpson trial, you probably understand what can happen when judges allow cameras into a high-profile court case. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit. Well, 3 weeks ago, District Judge Stephen Boyce, the judge presiding over the Lori Vallow and Vallow-Daybell proceedings, decided he wanted no part of the potential circus that could arise with arguably the highest-profile murder case in the country right now. Vallow and Daybell are facing multiple counts of murder and conspiracy to commit murder for the deaths of two of Lori's kids and Chad's previous wife. It's tragic and salacious at the same time. So you can understand all the live coverage of the preliminary hearings and the magazine articles, the Dateline episodes, and the documentary. In his decision on September 23rd, Judge Boyce said, while the media has been respectful and professional in its presence, and its presence has had no way disrupted proceedings, he cited an excessive and rather up-close focus on the defendant during a recent hearing back in August as a reason to no longer allow cameras for future proceedings, worried it would influence a jury pool. Cameras have been in courtrooms covering high-profile cases for decades, from newsreels of the Lindbergh baby kidnapping trial playing in thousands of movie theaters across the country in 1935, to the live coverage of the Johnny Depp-Amber Heard divorce trial last spring. The Supreme Court has held the freedom of the press and a right to a public trial as reasons to allow them, but they've left it at the discretion of the judge. So to get some understanding of why a judge might make such a decision, we sat down with a recently retired Ada County magistrate judge, that'd be Michael Oates, who, as maybe proof that not everyone has kept a close eye on the Vallow-Daybell case, given the media coverage, he wasn't even aware of the judge's decision in this matter.
To tell you how much I haven't followed it, I'm not even sure what the decision was in terms of whether.
No cameras in the courtroom.
Okay, that's news to me. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. In your years on the bench, you've had to decide whether or not to allow cameras in your courtroom. Is it a long consideration for you? Do you think long? What do you think about it?
No, I've never said no.
What do you consider? What do you think about?
The thing you think about is you're going to be on TV, and so. Even though you try to look your best all the time, I make sure my hair's combed and my tie's in the right spot. I mean, you're just conscious of the fact that somebody's going to be watching this later. You try to tell yourself, do not let this influence what I do today, but you're aware of the fact that more people are watching today's proceeding than a typical run-of-the-mill day when the only people interested are the parties.
Legally, what do you think about?
You think about, is this going to allow the defendant a fair trial? And everybody a fair trial. The state's entitled to a fair trial too. And so if there's any potential issue for the alleged victims in a case, for the jurors, obviously, the rules don't allow the jurors' faces to be on TV anyway. If there's some reason why the fairness might be jeopardized, then you got to think about that.
In his decision to not allow cameras in the courtroom, Judge Stephen Boyce said to continue visual coverage of this case poses a great risk to the fair administration of justice. And the court is further concerned that at trial, the added and unnecessary pressure witnesses and counsel will be subject to, knowing their every expression, utterance, and appearance will be captured and circulated without their control in perpetuity, is unwarranted and will likely interfere with the fair administration of justice in this case.
That kind of goes back to, and again, make it clear, I'm not commenting on the judge's decision in this, but that goes back to what I was saying before about, I have to honestly say, am I able to bring my A game as a judge, knowing that every time I, scratch my head, it's going to be on TV. That also applies to witnesses and the lawyers involved too. If you get the sense from whatever source that that people are so aware of what their words are going to be broadcast, that it affects their ability to give testimony the way you expect it, sure, that'd be a consideration.
You're one that would lean to always allowing a camera in the courtroom.
The default would be to allow it, yeah.
The benefits of that being?
Informing the public, letting the public know what happens in court, I think is a healthy thing. I think the more attention, the better on the processes of the court system, because I think it helps debunk some myths about how we do our business. Because and I'll give you a quick example, is that most people I talk to who are jury, and I did hundreds and hundreds of jury trials, and you talk to the jurors afterwards, and almost all of them came away really glad they did it. And I think most of them took a more positive view of how the system works away than they came in with. I think you folks being in a courtroom can do the same thing.
The flip side of that is it could be a detriment.
I don't know that it could be a detriment to unless the whole proceeding, and how do you regulate this, unless the whole proceeding turns into a TV show. If that happens, obviously that's not good. And that could have a negative effect on the public's perception of the trial. I don't think it's out of line this many years later to say that the O.J. Simpson trial certainly didn't do a lot for the perception of the judiciary and how things are handled. And some would say it was because people were playing to the cameras.
Judge Oates also noted it's difficult to determine who is the press these days. It used to be just TV stations, radio, newspapers, magazines. But with online bloggers, self-proclaimed citizen journalists, well, there's just some question of accountability when it comes to those following the rules or taking courtroom proceedings out of context. Disallowing cameras kind of reins that in as well. According to Judge Oates, there is no appeal to a trial judge's decision on this matter.